Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you're starting things off this week with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Lots to do over the next 2 hours. We'll talk to Matthew Bruni coming up in 30 minutes. LSU women's basketball, their tournament run is over. We'll talk about that, plus any news on the men's transfer portal. And there are some rumblings that there could be some news pretty quickly. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Matthew Bruni from the Bengal Tiger coming up in 30 minutes. An hour from right now, Sam Spiegelman will jump on. Sam covers recruiting for Rivals. There was a commitment from the Baton Rouge area, well, inside Baton Rouge earlier today, as Blaine Bradford committed to Ohio State, one of the top two players in the state of Louisiana. Sam broke that news. We'll talk to him about what that means for LSU 1 hour from right now. So we're going to do a lot over the course of the next 2 hours. Lock us in. Let's get started the same way we do every single week with our Genesis week, well, I guess week and day, with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, y'all, I'm going to try my best to keep these games in the proper order in my brain. That was a weird weekend of baseball at the box. You had a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Friday's game bled into Saturday, and Saturday's game bled into Sunday, and quite frankly, I did the game on Saturday that ran into Sunday, and then I went home and wrote my story until 3:15 in the morning, and then I had to feed a kid, and then the other kid woke up, and it was a whole, the days are scrambled in my brain from this weekend. It was a lot going on. There were weird times of sleep, weird times of baseball, but in the end, LSU won all 3 games, and that's what's very important. So as far as the biggest takeaways that I had from the weekend, I thought that the second game of the series was very eye-opening. You had one of the best pitchers in the conference, Pico Khan, on the mound for Mississippi State. LSU countered with Anthony Ianson, and I thought that this was a game we had not seen LSU play to this point. We have seen LSU ride Cade Anderson to some really quality wins and some really quality outings. We have seen Kason Evans be a closer in the last inning or two. We have not seen LSU go toe-to-toe with an ace with Anthony Ianson on the mound and win a pitcher's duel. That's not something we had seen to this point, and you saw that in the second game of the series that started on Friday night and ended on Saturday morning. So as far as my biggest takeaways from that game specifically, I thought Ianson was phenomenal. I thought he was great. Mississippi State has a good lineup. Now, they have a bad record, but I've watched a lot of bad SEC baseball teams in my day. I don't think that Mississippi State team is bad. I think they don't win. They are in games consistently, and they lose them. Now, that's the hallmark of a bad team, but as far as a collection of players, they have dudes. And Anthony Ianson goes 5 innings, does not allow an earned run. The only run he allowed was unearned. He struck out 12. He only got 15 outs, but 12 strikeouts. He goes 5 innings, 103 pitches. I thought a massive step in the right direction for Anthony Ianson. I did an exercise for LouisianaSports.net. You can read my entire Around the Horn column up there on the front of the page. But I looked at Anthony Ianson compared to Ty Floyd in 2023. Because when we think of Ty Floyd in 2023, we think the Florida game, right? And in all honesty, Ty Floyd got off to a pretty bumpy start in 2023. He wasn't even in the rotation at the beginning of the year. So I wanted to look at his first 3 SEC starts and see how Ianson was kind of stacking up with that. And it's pretty comparable. Ty Floyd faced Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Tennessee his first 3 weekend starts. And he totaled 14 2/3 innings over that time. Ianson's thrown 13. So Floyd's gone a little bit deeper. In that run of 3 games, Floyd did go 6 1/3 against Arkansas. Ianson's longest outing in the first 3 in SEC play is only 5 innings. So he's still an inning and 2/3 short of what Floyd was. But if you look at the rest of the statistics, they're very comparable. Floyd gave up 11 runs in 3 starts, Ianson 10. Earned runs, you're looking at 11 to 10. Walks, 6 to 5. Strikeouts, Ianson 23, and then Floyd 15. So Ianson's striking out more. Now you saw he had 12 strikeouts in that game. That's a big deal. But we saw Ty Floyd develop over the course of that year. And while that was Wes Johnson and this is Nate Yeskie, hopefully Anthony Ianson continues to get better. Because that's what you've got to have. These tournament weekends in the NCAA tournament, which is what we're all gearing towards, are really impacted by your first 2 starters' ability to go out there and win and get in the winner's bracket. And while Cade Anderson wasn't great on Thursday, he's been really good this year. You need Ianson to step up his game. And I thought you saw a step in the right direction for Anthony Ianson on Friday night with his outing. 12 strikeouts over 5 innings, just 1 run, and it was unearned. Now, the unearned nature of that run was a little bit puzzling because you allowed it was a cross-up between Luis Hernandez and Anthony Ianson, and he makes that pitch, and Hernandez isn't looking for it, and it just goes right by him, even though it was called a strike. You don't usually see pass balls on strikes, and this was, and it played a run. But to Ianson's credit, he struck out the side after that and left that go-ahead run on third base. Huge, huge, huge pitching by Ianson, and he was backed up by a couple of homers. You know, LSU had a hard time against Pico Khan and Stone Simmons. Those 2 guys are really good. But they worked Khan's pitch count up. He threw 93 of them over the course of 5 innings, and LSU got him for the 2 long balls. Hernandez hit 1, and Fry hit 1. And that's what Fry's in there to do, hammer lefties. Hammered it off the scoreboard. So to me, that game, to get it to the 5th with a lead, and then to have Case and Evans come in and turn the lights out was incredible. Now, Evans pitched himself into a little bit of trouble in the 6th and even more trouble in the 8th when he loaded the bases with 2 outs, and he had done so by walking the 3rd runner that he allowed on, and they go out and talk to him. The whole team did on the mound. And then, as Evans has told us in the media, he takes a deep breath from behind the mound. He looks up at the Skip Bertman Field sign on the press box, and he centers himself. And he immediately, with the bases loaded, a 1-run lead in the 8th inning and 2 outs, works 0-2. Boom, boom. And then he finishes it with the slider. Great stuff from Case and Evans. He's growing up before our very eyes. And you've now got essentially 2 guys that you can go to for multi-inning stints at the end of games that you really, really like. Of course, Zach Callen did it on Thursday, and then you saw Case and Evans do it on Friday. This is the Griffin Herron role, but LSU only had 1 of them last year. Now you've got 2 guys you can count on. I'm not over the moon wild about Zach Callen on Thursday, going 59 pitches and then Case and Evans turn around and throwing 72 the next game. Like, that is not something I want to see continue. Not because I don't think it's going to work in SEC play. It's great in SEC play. But when you get to Omaha, and that's what we talk about around here, right? Like, I don't have any problem talking about what your team's got to do in Omaha. I know they got to get there, but let's talk about trying to win championships. That's the point of covering LSU baseball. You get to Omaha, and your reliever's got to throw 72 pitches in a game. You can't use him for 2 or 3 games after that. And that is what LSU's got to progress toward, where you can trust somebody else to come in the 6th and 7th inning so that Evans or Callen only needs to throw 30 pitches to finish the game instead of 72. Again, great on an SEC weekend. We're trying to win 2 games. You get 1 of them. That's awesome. Omaha, you got to win more than 2 games. I need shorter outings for these guys eventually. But right now, while the name of the game is winning these weekends, winning these games, winning as many of the 30 games as you can, yeah, go to these guys in the 6th inning and ride them. Like, great. Stretch them out, get it done. But hopefully you're progressing in time to having some more guys who can help you out. And while LSU is really only completely confident in 2 guys to finish wins, Callen and Evans, that means if you're going to try to win a 3rd game, your offense better show up. And LSU's offense showed up in a big way in Game 3. 8 spot in the 1st inning, and I mean none of it early on was cheap. Curiel smokes one up the middle. Jones hits just a missile out of the ballpark to center field. I was in the press box when he hit it, and you don't always have a great angle when it's going straight away from you, like how well he hit it. They hit it down the line. You can tell pretty quickly when it's got the depth to go out. To center, you got to kind of read the outfielder. Well, he hit it, and I'm kind of reading the outfielder, and then my eyes got right back down to Jones, and he basically hadn't left the dirt yet, and that thing was well out of the outfield. I went, oh, he got it. And it banged off the batter's eye 430 feet away from home plate. That's the kind of ridiculous power that he's got. But it just didn't stop. They just kept hitting rockets all over the field. Milam hitting it hard up the middle. It was just overwhelming to the Mississippi State starter, Carson Ligon. And before Mississippi State could blink, LSU had an 8-run lead, and they really didn't slow down after that. LSU banged out 19 hits and scored 17 runs in Game 3 of the series. There were some issues in the bullpen, and I want to get to those in the next segment, but for this purposes of the initial discussion, I think it's important to just discuss how great LSU's offense was, with Mississippi State having a lot of good arms available to them in Game 3 of that series. They only had to use Kahn and Simmons in the second game, so they were pretty fresh with power arms, and they went to Ligon, and they went to Davis, and they went to Dotson, and they went to Williams, and those are their dudes, and LSU just run up multiple runs on all of them. Now, Davis had a pretty good go of it, 3 1/3, only allowed 2 earned runs, but in that 3 1/3, he did give up 6 hits. Over that time. They brought in Dotson, who's really a lefty with a lot of life on his fastball. LSU tattooed him for 3 earned runs in an inning and a third. The offense was great, and more often than not, the offense is going to be great. And that's why I was so happy and encouraged with the fact that in Game 2, when the offense wasn't great, against a great pitcher in Kahn and then in Simmons, and you only scored 2 runs, your pitching and defense picked you up. And you saw Anthony Ianson and Kason Evans throw it great. You had the 2 big swings, and you won a game a different way. That's the hallmark of a really good team. I opened this segment telling you that I didn't think Mississippi State was bad, but their win-loss record is bad. It's because they're not making plays to win games, and they don't have the versatility and the playmaking ability to get it done. And LSU is showing you that essentially week in and week out. And now you've positioned yourself just wonderfully after 3 weeks, 7-2 in league play. I know there are a bunch of teams up on you. There's 4 8-1 teams in the SEC, which is crazy after 3 weeks, but that's what happens when you've got Florida and Texas A&M and Missouri and South Carolina that aren't winning squat. Somebody's beating those teams, and those teams have really, really good records. Florida's not beating anybody either. They're 1-8. So it's incredible how top and bottom heavy the the SEC is. You would think at 7-2 after 3 weeks you'd be leading, and you're in 5th. But that's okay because LSU's in really, really good spot right now after 3 weeks, and that's due to a really strong effort this weekend, really in every phase. I thought the offense was great. I thought the defense was great. I thought for the most part the pitching was really good when it had to be, and you are able to go out there and get 2 of 3 on the weekend. Now, the bullpen was an issue on Saturday. I was on the broadcast for it, so I talked about it a lot. I've got some numbers to put behind it, and I'll do that when we come back. This is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Whether it's the entry level or the highest end version of the Genesis, every single one of those vehicles comes with the same standard safety features. They are not going to cut corners on safety. It's just not in the plan for Genesis. They make sure that their vehicles are among the safest on the road, and it's not just them or me that's telling you that. The entire line was given the IIHA top safety pick, and some of them were given top safety picks plus. That's the kind of safe vehicle that you're going to get in when you get behind the wheel of a Genesis. You can tell when you get behind the wheel how stylish and comfortable the ride is. Can't necessarily tell how safe it is. Well, we're telling you. Get by Airline at PQ. Check out the inventory online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com and start your process of becoming a Genesis driver today. It's Airline at PQ across from Women's Hospital or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, Monday's show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. GCOPnet.com is the website. Contact our guy, Trey Beal. All of your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. Let's talk bullpen, because I know that's a hot topic with many folks have watched LSU over the last 3 weeks in SEC play, and kind of buried under the offensive onslaught that was, again, Game 3, Saturday into Sunday. I can't get those days straight after the madness that was this weekend. But buried in LSU's offensive onslaught was a bullpen that struggled at times. It just didn't cost LSU because the offense was so dominant, but it was not great to look at. And if you heard me on the call, you probably sensed my frustration with it. It was just a bullpen that it could not appear to get ahead of hitters. And I put some numbers to it in my around the horn column. You look at Connor Ware, Maverick Rizzi, DJ Primo, Connor Benj, and Cooper Williams. That group of 5 pitchers faced 19 total hitters in the game on Saturday into Sunday. Of the 19 hitters they faced, 15 of them went to 2-0 or 3-1 counts. 15 of 19 got into drastically hitter-friendly counts. That is just far too many. And while LSU has a staff full of dudes with great stuff, if you consistently pitch from behind like that, you're never going to get outs at a rate that is acceptable. It's just there are too many good hitters in the SEC to allow that to happen. I mean, you look at Connor Ware. Like, I'll just go through an example. Here's the 5th inning. He gets a fly out on the first pitch he throws. He goes 3-1 to Sullivan and walks him. He goes 3-0 to Downs and walks him. He goes 2-0 to Stevens and gets an out. He got a fly out. Then you go into the next inning, and Maverick Rizzi comes in. He goes 1-0 to Highfill and hits him. Then he got ahead of Cup, but Cup still singled. He goes 3-0 to Sanders. Then two guys later, he goes 3-1 to Reese and walks him. Then he goes 2-1 to Sullivan and pops. Like, you're just never pitching from ahead. Conversely, you look at Zach Cowan's line from Thursday. He only went to 3 balls on 2 guys in the 4 innings of work, and he got both of those guys out. He struck out the side in the 8th inning, Cowan did, on 10 pitches. He had 1 ball on the inning. It's just 2 completely different things. Cowan is an elite level strike thrower, and I don't expect every true freshman like Maverick Rizzi or William Schmidt or Cooper Williams or any of these guys to come in and be exactly like Zach Cowan, who's a third-year college pitcher and has been a full-time starter. But you've got to throw more strikes than what LSU is doing right now. I mean, you look at 2 of the guys that came into the game on Saturday night into Sunday morning. That was DJ Primo and Cooper Williams. Neither one of them threw a single strike. And Jay Johnson went out there and yanked him. Like, Cooper Williams hits the first guy he sees, goes 2-0. Jay says, that's it. I'm not watching this. We've got an 8-run lead. Throw it over the plate. And Primo's done that for the most part, but he didn't in the game on Saturday night. He hits the guy, falls behind, see ya. You've got to find guys who can throw it over the plate. And it's weird because, like, Connor Ware threw a lot of JUCO innings and didn't have big walk problems. He certainly did not have walk problems in the fall when he got everybody out that he faced. And for some reason, it's just not there right now. And it's not like they're getting smashed all over the yard. I mean, you look at the line scores from these guys in the third game of the series, like, Connor Ware did not allow a run in his inning. He just walked 2 guys. Maverick Rizzi allowed 1 run, but he gave up a hit and walked a guy. Primo got tagged with 2 runs, and he didn't record an out. But, like, Benj was pretty good in an inning. He only gave up the 1 run, but he issued a walk. I mentioned Cooper Williams. Then they go to Jaden Newt at the end. And one thing you do know about Newt, he's going to throw it over the plate. The stuff's okay relative to the rest of his peers. Like, it's 93 with the fastball most of the time. He's got a good changeup, but he does throw it over the plate. He's shown you that in the midweek, and he's shown you that now when you call on him to finish this game. Now, I wouldn't call it the highest leverage spot on the schedule. LSU had a 17-8 lead when he was in the game. But he threw it over the plate. LSU has got to get 2 of these guys to develop. Two of them have got to come forward. I'm going to do a study on this later this week, and I'll write it for LouisianaSports.net, and I'll talk about it here. But what I'm telling you is there are very few, if any, college baseball teams that have 6 bullpen arms in addition to their starting rotation that are really good. Like, nobody's got 9 studs that pitch. It's just that's not realistic. Your best 2 guys are going to be your first 2 starters. You probably have a good bullpen piece. You may TBA game 3s. Like, I'm just talking generic, solid SEC baseball team. That's kind of what it's going to look like. 2 front-end guys, maybe a closer, a lefty thinking throw strikes, and you patchwork game 3s together. Like, that's what Mississippi State's doing. They got Kahn in the front end. He's really good. They've got a couple of bullpen arms that they really trust. Hungate's been good for them. Simmons has been good for them. And then they generally can trust David and Dotson. But that's 6 total. And when you look at LSU, you've got, obviously, Anderson at the front. I would suggest Ianson is making progress, and he's a solid option as a number 2 right now. You really trust 2 bullpen guys like you saw over the weekend in Cowan and Evans, and I need 2 more. 2 more. And you've got this group of Benj and Rizzi and Ware and Primo and Williams and Newt. And then you look at Schmidt and then maybe Guidry if he comes back. And that's what you're looking at as a group, and that's a plenty of talent. You're not asking a bunch of guys that throw 88-mile-an-hour sinkers to come in there and dominate. You've got guys that have plenty of stuff, breaking pitches, and I'm not asking for all of them to become stars, but you need the progression that you saw in 23 from Cooper and Ackenhausen and Guidry, that you saw last year from Christian Little And then, of course, from Jumpin' Holman, who became really good. Like, you need the progression those guys showed to come from some of those guys. And I think it's realistic to hold out hope for that. It's not a lock. It's not a given. But if you have Anderson at the front end, Ianson in the second hole making progressions, Shores continues to come on, which I thought he did some encouraging things in Game 3. Scary incident when the ball got hit back at him and caught him above the eye. But I thought 3 of his 4 innings were really good. 1 was bad, the second, but 3 of them were really good. But if you can get 2 of those guys to really turn the corner, and I'm still really holding out hope for Connor Ware because he can give you some length too. If you can get that, and then by virtue of those guys developing, you can use them in front of Evans and Cowan so that those guys don't have to throw 50, 60, 70 pitches in a game to win it, then you've got a pitching staff that's good enough to go win a championship. But you don't have it right now. And you can camouflage it with Cowan and Evans and the offense for a good bit, but not forever. So you're looking for 2 guys to make strides, and I think it's reasonable to suggest it will happen. I think there are a lot of you that will go, well, Yeski never develops anybody. And I would go, hold on. Jump got a little better last year as time went on. He was already talented. He's coming off injury, and he got better. Yes, Christian Little got better last year. No doubt about it. You wish that Thatcher Hurd would have come on and been a little bit better? Yeah, sure. But you did get some guys to develop last year over the course of 60 games. That's just a process here. And the good news is that LSU right now is putting themselves in quality positions and winning games while you're learning. Last year, while LSU was trying to get things together, you just basically had Luke Holman and Griffin Herring, and that was it. And you were losing games, and you put yourself so far behind the 8 ball that once you figured everything out, you were too far gone and you had to go on the road. This team is winning games while they're trying to figure some things out so that hopefully when it does click, you've put yourself in a position to play home games in the postseason, then you're going to be a really tough out. That's the hope. It's all part of this journey. It's all part of this 56-game process. And right now, we're midway through it, and you have some encouraging signs, but there still needs to be some development. And you saw that on Saturday night into Sunday morning when LSU was trying to find anybody to come in from Chase Shores and throw up a 0, and they just seemingly couldn't get it done until Newt finally came in the 8th and 9th and slammed the door. So I'm concerned's not the right word. I'm aware of bullpen inconsistencies and a lack of proven pieces, but let's just let it play out. And right now at 7-2, you're in a good position to watch it play out. So that's a good look at baseball here, the first 30 minutes of the show. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the second hour as well. But LSU basketball just picked up a transfer from the portal. We'll tell you who that is, and then we'll talk some women's basketball and what's next for Kim Mulkey's program. That's all coming up next with Matthew Bruni of On 3. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, phenomenal folks to work with. Look, it's March. We get to April tomorrow, but you know that storm season's around the corner, and the time to make sure that your policy is going to respond properly to a storm is now. It is not after the storm rolls through and you realized there's been significant damage. You're going to miss work time. You're inoperable. Do you have the right limits on your building coverage? Do you have the proper limits for your business interruption? Are you going to be made whole while you're away from producing? That's what the insurance is for. You know it's expensive on the front end. Do you know how it responds on the back end? Make sure your policy reads properly. That is what the Highland Insurance Group can absolutely do for you. These policies can read a little bit complicated. Do you know what co-insurance is? Do you know how to avoid those penalties? Maybe not. They do at the Highland Insurance Group. They can help you with that and make sure that everything is in place when that storm blows through. It's just a part of doing business where we live, this part of the world. Storms happen. Make sure you are prepared and protected by your insurance policy. The Highland Insurance Group will do it for you. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. You gotta believe, whole team on wildin'.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Parish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Work week's off to a good start here. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Figures to be a pretty busy couple of weeks for Matt McMahon and the LSU basketball program as the transfer portal is officially open, and they've got their first commitment. Mike Nwoko from Mississippi State is said commitment. To discuss that, and of course the LSU women's basketball team whose season ended yesterday, we bring in Matthew Bruni from the Bengal Tiger, part of the On 3 gang. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, I'm doing well. Like you said, busy day so far, and it was a busy weekend with good basketball games.
Mike Nwoko, Mississippi State starter this past season for a tournament team, 6'10", 245-pound big. What can you tell us about the latest addition to Matt McMahon's program? You wrote about it over at the Bengal Tiger.
Yeah, like you said, started 32 games for Mississippi State, 6'10", and I think the big thing here is, his stats aren't going to jump out at you. He didn't even play a ton of minutes. It was like 15 and a half minutes per game. But I think the big thing is he was just a sophomore. And the second thing is he has some bulk to him to where, Rob Miller and Damian Collins, we'll see what happens with them. I anticipate them at least getting one of them back. But even still, I think they needed to add more mass to the front court. Especially with Jalen Reed coming off the ACL injury. I think it was big for them to get a guy like this just to hold it down. He was top 20 in the SEC in both block percentage and rebound percentage. So even if his numbers aren't staggering in terms of totals, I think from an efficiency standpoint, he did his job at a high enough level for Mississippi State this past year.
As far as the front court goes, just play hypotheticals with me. I realize the era we live in, you can't really guarantee anything. But if you've got Nwoku and Miller and Reed back, how does that look from your perspective?
Yeah, I think Reed and Rob can both play the 4. I think Rob, it's going to be interesting to see how he develops because he was better at the 5 this past season. But I think with his skill set and I think the idea of him being able to stretch the floor a bit at the 4 spot, I think there is some potential there as well. And then ultimately I need to see what Jalen looks like off an ACL injury. I mean, even if I will be, I assume, ready to start the season, as we know, it takes, even when you're 100% cleared, it takes a couple of months to really, really get back into it and get your footing back. So I think this is really good insurance to make sure no matter what happens, LSU has a 5 that they can play with certain lineups. And I think you can play 2 of those 3 together pretty consistently.
Yeah, I mean, it was just obvious just watching LSU in person to me in this league, which is just so brutal. You've seen it all NCAA tournament long. LSU didn't look physically like a lot of teams in the SEC. Nwoku, to your point, and you've brought this up twice now, like he does look the part of the big in the SEC. I don't think he's going to average 22 points a game next year, but at least he can match up, it appears, right?
Yeah, and that's the big first step. I honestly still wouldn't be surprised at all if they went really big game hunting at the 4 positions, maybe try to go get a really skilled 4 that can put up 15 points per game or 10 to 15 points per game. Like I said, Jalen Reed is still a kind of question mark in my head just in terms of what he's going to look like in November, December. So I do think there's potential for them to go get a 4 and really round out the front court. We'll see if there's any more departures with the portal in the coming weeks. But at this moment, I think they're in a pretty good spot there, and then they'll go and look for some scores and some guards after that.
All right, so I know that you got your ear to the ground here. What's your sense on timelines and like how fast and furious this next wave is going to be for LSU basketball? Now that there's only 4 teams left playing, you got to figure the market's going to be pretty saturated.
Yeah, so now it starts to pick up a good amount. They've already, been in on a couple of guards, especially that we've talked about on the Bengal Tiger here. I think, and wings as well. Wings is an underrated position here, considering this past season it was really just either you were a guard or you were a 4. They really lacked wings with Tyrell Ward not being available. Jai Bailey did the most he could at 6'5", but they really missed like those 6'5" to 6'7" guys there. So I think they're going to be in the market for some wings and guards. They've already made some progress with some of them. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we got a wave of commits in the next 7 to 10 days. If they get 2 or 3 more, I think there's a good chance of that happening.
We shall see. Matthew Birney will certainly be all over it over there on the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team. All right, let's talk women. Their run ends yesterday. You kind of all season long are talking about this team in terms of what their NCAA tournament is going to look like. Will this get them? Will that get them? Is this good enough to get them through? What ultimately cost LSU yesterday?
I just think, and ultimately UCLA hitting threes the way that they did was the difference in the game. But I still think they were just outclassed to a degree. Not to say Flau'jae, Michaela, and Anissa wouldn't be able to beat them, if it was a series or something like that. But I just think you look at what UCLA did, and I tweeted this as well. UCLA's Sweet 16 team from last year that lost to to LSU, returned a lot of its core, and then also went and got 2 high-level players from the portal. And Tamia Gardner yesterday, I think, put 5 threes and was very productive, and Janiyah Barker starts for them at the 4. So that's what it takes to be a Final Four team and be the number 1 team in the country like UCLA is right now, is you have to build continuously. And to be frank, LSU just didn't get enough from this past offseason. You added 1 freshman, Jada Richard, who's a good player, but not a Michaela Williams level. And then the 4 transfers that they added, ultimately, it was Kaylin Gilbert, Miracle Shepard, Jersey Wolfenbarger, and Cheyenne Day Wilson as your 4. You're just not getting enough from them. So I just, from an overall talent perspective, I just thought they were outclassed a little bit.
I was listening to the game in the backyard throwing BP to a 3-year-old, but Patrick did a great job on the call, and Garner kept hitting threes. And one of the things that stood out to me, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on UCLA women's basketball, but I do know who Lauren Betts is. She didn't play in the second quarter because of foul trouble, and LSU gave up a lead and then fell way behind with her on the bench. I thought that was a huge piece to the game, that second quarter where LSU did not capitalize on the most impactful player on the floor not being out there.
Yeah, it felt like LSU was so game planned and stopping Betts and slowing Betts. And when she went to the bench, they were able to spread the floor a bit more, and LSU's defense just was not quite ready for that. And then give UCLA credit; they hit shots. I mean, that's ultimately, last year when LSU lost to Iowa in the Elite Eight, Iowa hit shots. Caitlin Clark and all the Gabby Marshalls and everybody. UCLA hit shots, and I think you look at both of those scenarios, Iowa and UCLA. Both having lost to LSU the year before, both felt like just watching the game had a chip on their shoulder, really came into this really hungry, and both executed and played at a high level. So I think the LSU, moving forward just has to address the kind of overall talent. Just we know the top three were great this year. We know the top of the team is going to be great every year, but now it's about adding depth and getting more production from your 4 through 7 players.
Let's talk about what that looks like. Because Anissa Morrow, obviously out of eligibility, she'll move on, and then you've got a lot of points coming back in the backcourt. Flage's got a decision to make. She said yesterday. You assume Michaela Williams will be back, and you've got a star-studded signing class coming in. So, what does this roster kind of look like right now, and what do they need to address as they go into the offseason?
Yeah, assuming Flage and Michaela are back,
that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's where we'll start. If Flage goes to the draft or if something happens to Michaela, then we are talking about a completely different situation and a completely different offseason. But assuming they are back, assuming Samaya Smith is back, and the only other one is I assume Jada Richard's back. Anybody else is up in the air for me. But with that core, I definitely think they need to go get a real big, a real 6'5", 6'6" big, like you said, Lauren Betts was towered over Samaya Smith, who I thought did a fine job. But, Lauren, you need to go get one of those real bigs. They'll look to replace Anissa Morrow at the 4 spot. They've already been linked to a Sarah Williams who averaged 20 a game at Wisconsin last year. And then they need to they need to hit on the point guard position, not just go get a point guard. They need to get a point guard that is comfortable in Kim Mulkey's system, is comfortable playing alongside 2 other high-level scorers. It can make open shots. And the hard part is they can be very talented, and it can still not work out, like we saw with Haley Van Lith 2 years ago. The hard part is getting the fit right, not just the talent. So that's the most important thing to me, because the fact that they got no production from the point guard spot this year is jarring, and the fact that they had Haley Van Lith 2 years ago and still couldn't hit on the point guard position is jarring. So that's the most important thing to me, and then just overall depth. I do think the freshman class is going to help a lot with that. It's a really good freshman class, number 1 in the country, and I do think they're not going to be expected to start, but I do think they'll help with the overall depth.
Matthew Bruni, part of the On3 team over there at the Bengal Tiger. He's all over basketball transfer portal, both sides, men's and women's. So y'all give him a follow. Go check out his stuff on the Bengal Tiger. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Monday. I'm sure we'll link up once the transfers start coming in on both sides. We appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Hunt.
He is Matthew Bruni. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you moved a couple of years ago and you got a great interest rate locked in, not looking to move again, but maybe would like a facelift in the bathroom or in the closet, this is your spot. One Bath and Closets can help you with that. I tell our personal story all the time because when my wife moved into my house, she hated the closet situation. We just didn't have enough room. She had coats that were in the guest room, coats in the hallway closet, and we couldn't have room in our bedroom for all of our stuff. Now, we would have called David Duvall One Bath and Closets, but we knew we were moving, so we weren't going to put work into a house that we were about to bail on. But we did prioritize the closet in the next house, and it's made a huge difference. If you don't want to move to get that relief, well, David Duvall is the phone call you need to make. You need to go to onebathandclosets.com. You can start your process with a free consultation right there at onebathandclosets.com. David will come out and show you what they can do, and they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online and get that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Bend Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Closing of hour number one here. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. I wrote a story up on Saturday for LouisianaSports.net. 3 early LSU football spring standouts. 2 weeks left in spring football for LSU. And I use these 3 names based on a couple things. One, our viewing time, which has been okay. It hasn't been quite as available as some springs and even fall camps in the past, but we've gotten a decent look, as well as some of the things that have been said in press conferences that I've taken note of. So that's where I've kind of determined who these spring standouts are. Certainly there are other guys who have had big springs, but these are the 3 that came to my mind as I did this exercise back on Saturday. The first, and again, this is going to get like a wry grin from some of the medias that have been to practice if you're listening, and maybe an eye roll from the people who have not been to practice that are listening, which is the vast majority of you, the listeners. But Chris Hilton is the answer. I know this is not the first time you've heard this. I know Chris Hilton has dealt with injuries for 4 years, But when we go to practice, you notice Chris Hilton. And we've seen a lot of really good wide receivers come through here. We know what that looks like. Chris Hilton could be an 800-yard receiver at LSU. I really believe that. I think he is far more than the burner that he was when he showed up. I think he's a good route runner. I think his hands are good. He's a great athlete who can go up and get the ball. He's really got the whole package. He's just got to be on the field. But I'm telling you, this guy had a monster fall camp, and he's had a really good spring. He's just got to get on the field. I think he knows that. I think that it would have been enticing for him to go run a fast time at the NFL Combine if he got invited, to run a really fast time at Pro Day, see if somebody take a flyer on him, and then go try to make a roster. Like, it would have been enticing for him to do that. But I think he realizes in coming back that he's got a chance to actually put great tape out there to go with what will be awesome measurables when he tries to take that professional step, which will now be next year. I think Chris Hilton's got a chance to have a really good fall, and I think he's had a great spring. So that's number one on my list. The second number on my list is a twofold piece, and that's Jack Pyburn. One, on the field, two, in the locker room. Pyburn has an edge to him. Like, there's just no two ways about it. The guy is, in a complimentary way, a psycho. Like, he is just 100 miles an hour when he is on the practice field, when he's in there in a game, and he leads by example in that way. When you make 60 tackles in the SEC playing defensive line, you are freaking active. Like, that is a guy who's getting after it. He's now trying to add to his repertoire the pass rush because he only had one sack at Florida. And he wasn't on the field on third downs a lot, and he just hasn't been a productive pass rusher. Doesn't mean he can't be. He hasn't been. And that's what Kevin Peoples is trying to get out of him. And I talked to Jack Pyburn with the rest of the media a couple of weeks ago, and Pyburn said how excited he was at some of the results he's starting to see from some of the techniques he's learning from Kevin Peoples. And that's a crowded position group. Jamari Butler is a veteran. Patrick Payton is an immense talent who's been crazy productive at Florida State. Gabe Relaford's a guy that LSU wants to get to the field. Like, there are a lot of dudes at edge, but Pyburn's going to play, and I think he's been impactful on the practice field in spring and impactful in the locker room as a guy who brings an edge every single day. And I've really enjoyed kind of watching that development from Jack Pyburn. So I think he's had a great run of it. Those two guys are old players. The next guy I'm going to talk about is not an old player, but he's a player that I think is emerging. And we heard this from Blake Baker last week, and we talked about it. But Deshaun Spears has had a good spring. And LSU has simply got to play better at safety. Jordan Gilbert's not out there. Hopefully his play ticks up a notch when the shoulder heals up. But you've got some options with or without Jordan Gilbert in the mix. You've got TaMarcus Cooley who can go back there and play if he needs to. You've got Joel Rogers. You've got Deshaun Spears. They've got to find some sort of combination at safety that's better than what they've put out there the last 2 years. And Spears is the most physically imposing safety on the roster. He's 6'3", he's 210, 215 pounds, and we thought he was going to work his way to the field last fall, and it didn't happen. They played the old guys. They played Burns. They played Sage Ryan. They kept those guys out there. I think Spears has a chance to be a breakout player in 2025, and that's the hope. And Blake Baker said last week, like, nobody was harder on Deshaun Spears last year than me, talking about himself, obviously. And it's starting to click. And when we were out there at practice 2 weeks ago, you saw Deshaun Spears in coverage do a great job on a play that was intended for Bauer Sharp, ran with him stride for stride. You also saw him come downhill and make a stop in the backfield on a run. I mean, that just harkens back those memories of, like, Jamal Adams shot out of a cannon. Now, Jamal Adams is a top 10 pick in the draft. Deshaun Spears has a long way to go to get to that type of player, clearly. Jamal Adams is probably the best safety I've ever seen at LSU. But the great teams that LSU has fielded, going back to 2003 with LaRon Landry, looking at 2011 with Brandon Taylor and Eric Reed, looking at 2019 with Grant Delpit, like, you've had great safeties. And that's something that LSU's been missing for the last few years. Deshaun Spears has the talent level to be one of those type guys. Now, the production doesn't match up. LaRon Landry, as a freshman, led the national champions in tackles. Okay? Eric Reed was ready to play his freshman year in October. And Spears didn't play like that as a freshman. So you've just based on that, got steps to climb to get to the production level of those type of guys. But he was a top 10 player in the state, a 4-star recruit, big physical frame, and it's starting to click for him a little bit in the spring. And I think that's really encouraging for LSU. So to me, the 3 guys who have stood out the most in the spring, Chris Hilton at wide receiver, Jack Pyburn off the edge on defense, and Deshaun Spears back at safety. I think those 3 guys have had a really, really good go of it in the spring. Got spring break this week, 1 more week of practice, and then you've got the spring game. Well, not the spring game, the spring open practice. And then they'll break for off-season workouts. But I think those 3 guys have really had a good go of it. Missed any of our first hour? Catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show and find us. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. We'll take a time out for SportsCenter. When we come back, Sam Spiegelman. What does the commitment of Blaine Bradford to Ohio State mean for LSU? We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, ice cubes.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC, Pearl Jam, and the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. As the Steelers await a decision from Aaron Rodgers, Coach Mike Tomlin told reporters today the team had a productive meeting with the 41-year-old quarterback in Pittsburgh earlier this month, added there's no deadline for a decision from Rodgers. The Steelers are ideal for him, believes ESPN NFL analyst Bart Scott.
He doesn't have to project getting them to the playoffs. They've done that. They got that part covered. They need somebody when they face another quarterback on the other sideline that can be Himothy. He can step up and he can get them over the top. And there are worse places to be and worse weapons to throw to than Fairmouth, DK Metcalf, and Pickett.
Browns co-owner Jimmy Haslam's calling the team's trade for quarterback Deshaun Watson a big swing and miss. 3 years ago, Cleveland acquired Watson from Houston for a package that included 3 first-round picks, then signed him to a $230 million fully guaranteed contract. He has started just 19 games for Cleveland due to suspension and injuries. Raiders working on a contract extension for recently acquired quarterback Geno Smith. Baseball, Aaron Savali, the 8th Brewers starting pitcher to land on the IL. He's got a hamstring injury.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Tuesday, the competition committee will vote on the tush push. I'll tell you why it should be banned for good. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. Start hour number 2 with some recruiting talk. Sam Spiegelman covers it all for Rivals. Joins us now on Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sam, appreciate some time. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Been a slow, very uninteresting morning on my end. So I, just hanging in there.
Why do I sense the sarcasm? My meter's dinging a little bit here. You broke the news of Blaine Bradford, the Catholic High Baton Rouge safety, committing to Ohio State. When you got that news, were you surprised?
Partially. I'd say, of his 3 finalists, the odds were that he was going to land either at LSU or Ohio State. Texas was a bit of a wild card in there. Obviously they had recruited him for a long time. That was before a complete overhaul of the defensive staff, with Blake Gideon going to Georgia Tech to be their defensive coordinator. And of course, obviously Coach Joseph now with the New Orleans Saints. So that was a surprise, but Ohio State has been right at or near the top with Blaine probably since last November when he was in the Horseshoe for the first time for a game. We know he worked out at Ohio State and wowed the staff and, Matt Guerrieri, their young safeties coach, and Ryan Day last year. But when he was in that game environment, I think the Buckeyes lost that game. But the family, mom, dad, Blaine, I think they've never seen anything like that. And that doesn't happen all the time with kids from Louisiana. Sometimes just the Midwest, the Ohio States, the Michigans of the world, it just doesn't do it for them. They've seen something else and then they love it. But, Blaine gravitated toward it. He felt very comfortable up there. He's the kind of kid that's not afraid to be different. And I think that he was comfortable if he was going to leave the state to go somewhere with a track record, not only for producing NFL talent like Ohio State does. They obviously have the number 1 safety in the country, and Caleb Downs is a great recruiting tool. But a team that's coming off a national championship and a pretty convincing, run in the playoffs, that they're kind of a team that,
in this playoff era, you can kind of count on them to be in the playoffs year in and year out. And I think that kind of fits what happens when you play for Catholic High, and they have a similar mantra over there.
Yeah, no question. LSU's done an awesome job of recruiting Catholic High. Generally speaking, when there's been a really good player there on Hearthstone, LSU has found a way to come up with him. Doesn't appear that's going to be the case with Bradford. What do you feel like the next few months hold for him? Do you think that he'll visit LSU being right down the road? Do you think LSU's still in it? What's your sense tell you?
Yeah, I think he'll still officially visit LSU. Maybe he won't do it in June. He is scheduled to be there in June. But that's I don't think if Blaine is going to change his mind, I don't think it's going to be in June. He's going to be back in Columbus for his official visit as well. He's also, if he's going to change his mind, I think it's going to be as he gets nearer to the finish line. LSU's not going to go anywhere. They're going to keep recruiting Blaine, and Corey Riemann and Jake Olson, are going to recruit some other safeties. That's the way it is at LSU. If you don't want to be in the boat now as we put the pressure on you, they're going to find someone else who's really, really good. By the way, they have Aiden Hall, the number 3 safety in the country, already committed. They're in a great spot with Jaira Edwards out of St. Francis, who, despite being from Maryland, has shown interest in Georgia and LSU and A&M. The Tigers offered Laziah Jackson out of South Georgia, a long, rangy safety right from that part of the country. They obviously got Dylan Purter to commit alongside Aiden Hall recently. Dylan Purter has had one of the best off seasons of any defensive back in the 2026 cycle, and made an early commitment to the Tigers. And they're going to continue to recruit Blaine. His brother is a freshman in the secondary there. His relationships are, if they're not as close as Ryan Day and Matt Gary, they're second. And it's obviously, it's no question that the family being in Baton Rouge is going to feel the pressure to get to Tiger Stadium and dot all the I's and check all the T's or whatever the expression is before they sign on. But before it's all said and done, to make sure they're making the right decision. His older brother, Jacob, was committed to Houston before he ended up committing and feeling great about, signing with LSU. The process works differently for everyone. What he loves in March 31st, he may not love on June 30th or potentially November 30th. These things are fluid. Ohio State is hard to knock off, but I think, given the proximity and given the connections over there at LSU, they're going to be there until they know that they can.
What kind of player is Bradford?
He's incredible. He's a 5-star for us at Rivals. He's our number 1 safety in the country. I'll be perfectly honest. I remember scouting him as a sophomore, some of the best sophomore film you'll find. And, he was someone who looked like he could grow into being just an incredibly uber athletic middle linebacker or off-ball linebacker. He is so physical. But after a full healthy junior season, by the way, after a ton of injuries early on in that sophomore season, he came back and had a pick 6 in the state championship game for Catholic, and reminded everyone that when he's healthy, he is a baller, and he did that again last year. Like I said, super physical, but he's a sure tackler. He covers a ton of ground on the back end. So you talk about what he can do as a run defender at the safety position. He can line up at different spots, give you a lot of versatility on the back end. And we talk about his coverage. I posted a video I had from LSU's Friday Night Lights earlier. I mean, listen, I know that you got a lot of LSU fans, but he picked off Bryce Underwood and batted away another pass during LSU's Elite 7-on-7 competition in front of Jake Olson and Blake Baker last year. So you know why he was at the top of their board. He just has great instincts, great physicality, and just great, innate ball playing skills. When that ball's in the air, it might as well just be Blaine's. He sees it and he attacks it, which is what you want from a talented safety like that.
Chatting with Sam Spiegelman, covers recruiting for Rivals. Broke the news earlier today that Blaine Bradford committing to Ohio State from right here in Baton Rouge. He's part of a huge in-state crop here in the 2026 class that's about to finish their junior school year and then head into their senior years coming up in the fall. How do you think LSU stands with the rest of the top of this class? You mentioned Aiden Hall a little bit earlier. They've got a lot of commitments from the top. Do you feel like they're going to finish strong in the state? That's generally been one of the most important things for LSU in terms of the program.
Yeah, LSU is at its best, and they're competing for SEC and national championships when they're recruiting their home state well. Mind you, again, for the topic of Blaine Bradford, Dominic McKinley was committed to Texas A&M. Gabe Relaford was committed to Texas A&M, during these months last year. So things are fluid, or 2 years ago at that point. But besides Aiden Hall, who, like I said, number 3 or 4 safety in the country, depending on where you look, Big Rich Anderson out of Carr, his teammate, the number 1 or number 2 defensive lineman in the country from no matter where you look. Other in-state pieces like Jabari Mack just coming off the board, Kenny Darby, who led Louisiana in receiving as a junior last year at Airline, Ja'Kai Anderson out of McDonough 35, one of the shakiest, most electric slot receivers, special team stars in the New Orleans area, and not to mention a 5-star commitment from Tristan Keys out of state, but of course you'd rather play from ahead than the converse. This is a great foundation for LSU, and I think they got the top quarterback on their board is Bo Bentley. They're battling Oklahoma largely, as well as Georgia for Bo. That'll be a tough battle for Joe Sloan and Co to win, but they made a really big move with the touted quarterback. This has the potential to be a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 class in the country, because Louisiana, this is as good of a class as in-state that they've had in some time. It's not only really rich at the top, but it's really, really deep. We're talking 12 or 13, blue chippers deep in Louisiana. Kind of reminds me about 10 years ago, that 2016 class with Christian Fulton and company. And LSU was able to reel in most of those guys, and you know what happened with a lot of those guys down the road with them on the roster. Blaine Bradford to Ohio State, like I mentioned, this is a recruitment that's going to be fluid until the end, and it does suck for LSU to have to play from behind, but I think they got a puncher's chance with a kid who's got a brother on the roster and who's from that hometown and has great relationships with the staff. I think that they're in a dogfight with Texas A&M over Lamar Brown. Who's going to head back to College Station this weekend for the second time in 3 weeks. That battle is probably too tight to call at the moment, but, that's another wrinkle that LSU has to kind of figure out on the offensive or defensive line. But the way that they're recruiting, if they are able to get those guys on board or one of the two, along with, this they're already in a great spot with so many other kids in state or hold commitments already, which is pretty unbelievable when you look at some of these guys like Big Rich Anderson and Jabari Mack in the top, 50, 60 in the country. They got a shot, and, this thing can turn really well, especially as they start going with some of these national targets. They got 5-star edge Tank Jones on their board, 4-star offensive lineman Darius Gray, one of the best interior guys in the country, really picking up steam with him. This could go really well for LSU, and if really, like you said, if they're able to turn the envelope in-state, and keep those guys in first, everything else is lagniappe, and they're going to be in the mix for potentially a number 1 class this year.
Good to know. If you're looking for your recruiting coverage, Sam Spiegelman's got you covered over there at Rivals. He's a national recruiting analyst for the folks over there. We appreciate a little bit of time here on this Monday. Get back to work, all right?
Yeah, appreciate you, Hunt. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Sam Spiegelman from Rivals. As always, this has always been my contention on recruiting. If you're a local Louisiana prospect, I think it's absolutely vital that you stay home and go to LSU. If you're a national prospect and you'd like to check out Louisiana, I think that's a great idea. That's, generally speaking, been my my approach to recruiting. Does that seem fair to you, Beck?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go wherever you want to college. I just hope the good players go to LSU. We'll talk some Saints when we come back. There's something that's continuing to come up in some of these mock drafts, and I'm starting to warm up to it. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
You work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life, so why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. Printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. Got you covered. Appreciate Sam Spiegelman for a few minutes on some football recruiting. LSU's class still looks very, very good, but obviously you got a 5-star right there in your backyard, and his brother's on the roster. You feel like you got a pretty good chance to reel him in. LSU's going to have to do some more work to make that happen with Blaine Bradford. So we'll see how that plays out over the course of the next 5 or 6 months. All right, let's talk some Saints. Was reading up today. ESPN's got a piece out talking about the best fit for every high-end prospect on the draft board. Matt Bowen wrote it and put it together. And for the Saints, he likes Missouri Tigers right tackle Armand Membo. Now, I gave this a lot of thought. I'm like, okay, offensive line again. Trevor Penning, offensive line. Taliesin Fuaga, offensive line. You know, they took early draft picks on Cesar Ruiz with the first-round pick, or McCoy's second-round pick. Like, they have put a lot of resources into the offensive line. Do you really want to try that again? And as I thought about it, I just went, you know what? Yes, I do. I think that's fine. Matt has said this quite a few times on After Further Review. I would echo the sentiments. Like, you would be hard-pressed to find a position the Saints would draft that I didn't think it was a good idea. And while they do have a former first-round pick at right tackle right now, I think if you feel like you're bringing in a Pro Bowl caliber player, and a lot of people think Mimbo could be that type guy, to go with Taliesin Fuwanga on the other side, like, you do that. Because there's a reasonable chance, I would say better than 50%, maybe as high as like 80 or 90%, that the Saints do not pick up Trevor Penning's fifth-year option. They have to make that determination here coming up. I don't think that's going to happen based on last year's play alone. He didn't really play before that. And so he plays one more year. If you can bring him back to be a depth piece at a discount, like maybe he walks. But I'm not letting Trevor Penning block an elite level player, not the actual term like an alignment block, like get in the way of in terms of the development of the roster. If you feel like Mimbo is the best option on the board where you pick at 9, you don't say, yeah, we got Trevor Penning, let's go somewhere else. Like, no. You bring him in, you kick Penning down to guard as a reserve, and you're off and running with 2 bookend tackles. I don't think there's anywhere on the roster where Kellen Moore goes from great situation and takes a bigger step down than right tackle. Because you're talking about maybe the best right tackle in football, Lane Johnson, that Kellen Moore was just playing with. Guy on the left side, not too bad either. The Eagles' offensive line was great, even with Kelsey retiring and not playing center last year. Great offensive front. And that's got to set the foundation for your offense. And we all think that beyond 2025, that there's going to be a young quarterback playing for the Saints. What better way to break in a young quarterback than with 2 tackles who are 22, 23 years old on rookie deals and emerging into their young prime? That's ideal. So, yeah, you've got a young player that you've heavily invested in at right tackle. That would not stop me from taking another right tackle, and in this case, Matt Bowen agrees with that. Now, you look at the profile of Mimbo. Again, he just turned 21. He was the starting tackle at Missouri the last 3 years, and he did not allow a single sack in 2024. Pretty good league to not allow a single sack in. You're talking about a guy who did not do the agility drills at the combine, but his relative athletic score is a 9.90. Now, that makes a lot of Saints fans want to jump off a building, but we know that the Saints front office prioritize it, so not talking about it would be stupid. And again, you're talking about a 9.9 relative athletic score. That's 16th out of 1,500 offensive tackles that have entered the league since 1987. Again, 16th out of 1,500 that have entered the league. So this is one of the most athletic big men in this draft, and really that's come out in decades. So when you start to think about his profile, what the Saints prioritize with this front office, and then you add Kellen Moore to it and see where he just came from, where they had success in Philadelphia, and it was with the great offensive line, it starts to make a lot of sense that the Saints might take a look at offensive line at number 9. And again, I'm okay with it. I think there was a time a couple of weeks ago where I was like, could you just use the guys you got there and maybe address a different position? Like, what do you have at safety? Nothing? Are you really that confident at corner? Don't you need a playmaker at wide receiver? Look at what you trotted out there last year. Do you go quarterback? Like, there's so many options there that it can be overwhelming. Don't you need somebody in there to stop the run? Where are your pass rushers? Like, it's a lot. There's a lot they got to do. And I see young, former first-round picks on the offensive line, and I think to myself, don't do that. You already did that. But the more you drill it down, you go, okay, it makes sense if they want to do it. And again, that goes back to the point of like, whatever the Saints decide to do, you can get on board with it. They just need to hit. There is nothing more important to the next great Saints team. Let's call it that way. There's nothing more important to the next Saints great team than the next 2 or 3 drafts. Nothing. And that starts with the first pick in this one. And if you can get he just turned 21, a 21-year-old freak athlete of a right tackle to pair with Taliesin Fuwanga, who we feel like is a potential Pro Bowler moving forward, That's a really, really good foundation for your offense because you've already got one of the best centers in the National Football League snapping the ball. You pair with Pro Bowl level tackles, well, then you start to mirror one of the biggest things that got you over the hump the first time in 2009 when you had the best offensive line in football. You start to get back towards that. Now, the guy behind the offensive line for that team, pretty important. The guy behind the offensive line for this team, but you understand the premise. Like, if you can build from there, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm on board with that. Not saying it you have to. Like last year, we were sitting there going, if they don't take an offensive lineman, like they're cooked. Like they can't field a proper offensive line. I don't feel like that with this pick. Like they can go pretty much anywhere. I'm good with going with the Mizzou offensive tackle, Armand Membo, if that is indeed what the Saints want to do. You can read Matt Bowen's piece up there at ESPN.com. You mentioned Will Campbell in that piece as well. It's a guy that the Saints could look to identify, and I would be perfectly fine with that as well. He can play guard or tackle. It may change a little bit based on what your plans are with Penning and what you want to do, but Membo is a tackle, and that would effectively end Trevor Penning's time as a New Orleans Saints starter if they did go ahead and make that selection. So if you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can always find it. Hunt on Saints on YouTube. That's in podcast form now, so wherever you find your sound, just search Hunt on Saints. You can find all of our Saints coverage right there. All right, let's move along. When we come back, I've got some thoughts on SEC baseball. Just some absolute powers at 1-8. What does that mean for them and what's coming up for those teams, plus where LSU stands in those standings. We'll talk about all that when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. They make it so convenient for you as a shopper. You don't even have to set foot on the dealership. You want to, I highly recommend it, but you don't have to. Go to GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every vehicle is there. If you decide there's something there from the sedans all the way up to the SUVs that you would like to test drive, just check it out online, contact the dealership, have one of their brand ambassadors come to you. They'll come to the office at lunch. They'll come to the house, get you behind the wheel. If you decide, yeah, this is what I want, this is the car for me, great. You don't have to go to the dealership at that point either. They've got digital contracts. They've got digital delivery. They'll bring the car right to you there. It can't be any easier. And every single new purchase at GenesisofBatonRouge.com comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, comes with 3 years of complimentary maintenance. That's how simple it is at Genesis of Baton Rouge. When I say Genesis, think luxury. It's a luxury brand of vehicles at a reasonable price. Genesis of Baton Rouge, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, Jacob Beck, let's see where you land on this. I don't know if you saw it over the weekend. There was some drama in College Station, Texas. Were you aware of this?
No.
Okay, perfect. I'll lay it out for you. So, Texas, A&M, and Kentucky split the first two games of their series. Sunday's game was played under a travel curfew. They could not start a new inning after 4:30. Kentucky had to catch a flight, get back to Lexington, so that was put in play well before the game started. In the bottom of the eighth inning, Texas A&M was trailing Kentucky 10-5. And A&M was hitting in the bottom of the eighth. And the clock was ticking towards 4:30. It was 4:28. So Kentucky's pitching, A&M's in the box. They're taking their time. The pitch clock's running down. Nick Mingione goes out for a visit with no one on base in a 10-5 game. And they got the clock to run out. Recorded the final out. We can't play the ninth inning. Kentucky wins. Over the course of this delaying and stalling in the eighth inning, Michael Early, who's probably not in a good mood ever at this point, was screaming across the field at Nick Mingione, who was screaming back at him. Where do you stand on Kentucky playing to the clock with a travel curfew and a 5-run lead in the eighth inning?
We've seen. Well, at least for me, anyways, I see plenty of gamesmanship, if you will.
Yeah.
In the game of soccer, this happens very frequently.
Oh God, soccer.
Yes. Anyway, I've seen this happen a lot. And
guys milking injuries with the lead.
Well, that, and then they'll get the ball and they'll just go in the corner of the field and just protect the ball from going out. So I've seen stuff like this before. I guess it's not equal, but at the same time, the goal of what the team is doing is to waste time.
Correct.
So I don't agree with it. I don't think it's good for the game. But Kentucky, they didn't do anything outside of the rules of the game. They had mound visits. They used them. They did what they could do in terms of the rules. So I don't agree with it, but they didn't do anything inherently wrong or illegal that the game prevents.
It's a big unwritten rules society in baseball. We understand this. And I think a lot of the unwritten rules are dumb.
Yes.
In this instance, and trust me, like, look, I'm fairly impartial here because I'm so partial. I don't like Texas A&M.
You hate both of them.
And I don't like Nick Mingione.
Equally.
So I feel like I can be an impartial arbiter here. I don't believe that is in the spirit of the game.
No.
And so while that may not matter to some people and you're out there to win and this is your opportunity to win the game, I think that the unnecessary mound visits is a little ridiculous. This is a sport inherently without a clock. You want to do in a soccer game, go stand in the corner and hide the ball. You want to run the Princeton offense in basketball and shoot at the very end. Like, that strategy that's like very much baked into the game. This is a fabricated rule that we made up because Kentucky has to fly back to Lexington. So I don't like it. I didn't like it. I think you ought to go out there and play. But, you know, it's certainly not gaining an unfair advantage or something. It's not like, you know, cheating of any side. It's just bad form.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. So if I was Nick Mingione, and this is hard to say because, like, you're trying to win games. You're on the verge of winning a series at College Station. Kentucky's not off to a great start in league play. At that point, they were just 3-5 in the league. Like, you're trying to win every game you can, and that's an opportunity to try to win the game. I would like to think from that dugout, I would just have my pitcher playing baseball. I got a 5-run lead. I've got to basically essentially get 5 more outs, 4 more outs, 3 more outs. I would like to think I would go ahead and play, but that's just kind of my gut. So if you'll take a look at the Baseball America poll that went out today, Texas A&M has 7 series left in SEC play. They've played 3 like everybody else. They have 7 series left. They play the number 1 team in the nation on the road, the number 2 team in the nation on the road, the number 3 team in the nation on the road, the number 4 team in the nation on the road, and the number 5 team in the nation, which is LSU, in College Station. 5 of their last 7 series are against the top 5 teams in the nation, and 4 of them are on the road. That is the most absurd gauntlet ever, and you're staring at a 1-8 conference record right now. Their odds of making the NCAA tournament, I would suggest right now, are no better than 7 or 8%.
Now, are you still in the mindset that one of Florida, who's also 1-8, and Texas A&M will make the tournament?
I think Florida's got a chance to make it. Their schedule is more manageable than A&M's, which anyone's would be. It's not easy. There are very few weekends that you would chalk up as very, very, very winnable in this league, and LSU is Mississippi State in Baton Rouge and Missouri in Baton Rouge are very, very winnable. Missouri's 0-9. They hadn't won a game yet. But Florida's is more manageable than Texas A&M's for sure. So Florida, just doing math, their RPI is going to look good because they played tough midweek games. They played Miami in a non-conference series. So the RPI is going to be inflated once you win games. If we think they have to get to 13 wins, which is generally what we think, they've got 21 games to play. They're going to have to go 12-9. That's doable. When you start to talk about it like in those terms, it always sounds more doable than it looks like when you just stare at the record. Like Florida going 12-9 in 21 SEC games is not inconceivable, but you're just starting in such a hole at 1-8. Mississippi State starting in a hole at 1. I mean, look at the amount of top heavy and bottom heavy through 3 weeks of SEC is really shocking to me. You've got Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Texas A&M all at 1-8, and Missouri at 0-9. That is 5 teams that have 1 or 0 conference losses. And then you go to the top, and you've got 4 teams with 1 conference loss. Arkansas, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas all are 8-1 at this point. And then you've got kind of the middle of the pack with teams like Alabama, Ole Miss are 6-3. Oklahoma is 5-4. Auburn is 4-5. Kentucky's 4-5. Vandy's 4-5. But the tops and bottoms are just so spread, so jammed up there after 3 weeks of play. I thought that there were some interesting results over the weekend for sure. To me, you look at Arkansas going to Vanderbilt and sweeping on the road was really impressive, and Arkansas just continues and continues and continues to hit and hit and hit. It's just unbelievable. I thought the weekend between Auburn and Georgia was incredibly entertaining. Auburn probably played well enough to win 2 out of 3 in that weekend. They got swept in Athens. Auburn comes back, ties the game, and takes it into extras, hits a 2-run homer in extra innings to take a 2-run lead in the top of the 10th. They come back, and Georgia ends up scoring 5 runs in the bottom, a walk-off 3-run homer to sweep the series. Georgia's legit. I mean, you start looking at a team that's 28-2, like that's hard to poke a lot of holes in. Do they have a bunch of first-team All-SEC pitchers? They do not. Do they have a bunch of guys that are bashing the baseball all over the yard? They very much do. And they're 8-1 at this point, which is very impressive. Texas is 8-1 as well. They follow up that emotional weekend where they win 2 out of 3 against LSU, win the final 2 games of that series. They go on the road to Missouri and really hammered Missouri for 3 days. It's kind of where you thought maybe a bit of a letdown spot for Texas. It's a sleepy environment. I'm always amazed when I look at Missouri's games on TV and you realize that behind home plate, between field level and the top of Pete Taylor Stadium, is 5 rows. There are 5 rows behind home plate. 5. That's a pretty sleepy place to go play. And Texas showed up and got their work done. And then credit to Ole Miss, who is now 6-3 in league play, took care of 2 or 3 against Florida, and that was a big weekend for them. They're now sitting in a good position at 6-3. We know how big a year this is for Mike Bianco. It continues to be, and they're going to have to keep playing, and I don't love their talent after Hunter Elliott on the mound, but they're swinging the bats well, and that's a nice series win to get 2 out of 3 from Florida, who, as we mentioned, is 1-8 in league play. So I'll have my SEC Power Rankings on Wednesday's show, and we'll kind of sort all of this out. But fascinating weekend in college baseball and in the SEC, and LSU comes out of it with a clean sweep of Mississippi State. They're 7-2 in league play, really in an advantageous position as you move into another weekend. And this weekend, LSU will travel to Norman, Oklahoma, another Thursday, Friday, Saturday series for the Tigers. All right, let's talk a little NCAA tournament basketball. We'll transition to that, and then we'll go to break, do some take it or leave it to finish things up here. Just an incredible run for the Southeastern Conference, I thought. You got 2 teams in the Final Four with the 2 1 seeds. Florida and Auburn made it happen, and Florida just simply, like, it's an Austin Powers thing. Why won't you die? Like, they've been on the ropes twice, and Walter Clayton is just a beast. And he is another guy in this line of great SEC players that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years that comes from a small school. He was at Iona with Rick Pitino, and who knows what Rick saw in him as a prep player, but he clearly saw something. Got him to Iona, then he ends up in Gainesville, and he's just a freaking assassin late in games. And Texas Tech clearly outplayed Florida for 35 minutes of basketball. And then they couldn't guard Clayton at the end. Just couldn't guard him. He hit that ridiculous off-the-dribble collection 3 from the left elbow. Then he's driving into the lanes, backs it back out, Steph Curry style, and splashes a 3. I'm texting with Taylor Reyna, who works here in sales. He's a Texas Tech grad. I'm like, y'all are in the catbird seat here. And then you couldn't stop Clayton, and he was incredible in that stretch. I was thrilled that Duke just put on a freaking second half clinic against Alabama. The last time we had seen Alabama, they had one of those Crimson Tide flamethrowers on Thursday where there's just nothing you can do. They shot 53s, made 25 of them. That's it. You're done. But that doesn't happen every night. And Duke just wore them down and just pulled away in the second half. And it warmed my little heart because I cannot have Nate Oates cutting down the nets at the end. That just is unacceptable to me. We just talked about Nick Mingione in this segment, talking about grudges that I hold. When you tell my basketball coach, even if he's not here anymore, to GTFO on the sideline, I'm not going to pull for you ever again. And so, pulling for the Dukies back on Saturday, and they got it done, so that was huge. I don't have a huge beef with Florida's program or with Bruce Pearl and Auburn, so I would prefer it if we saw one of the other 1 seeds win, if you saw Duke or Houston win. But I don't have like a huge dog in that fight. Like I would be anxiously watching Alabama in a national final. I won't feel that way watching Florida or Auburn. I would, again, prefer the other teams win. And I think Duke right now is playing the best. But I was impressed at watching Houston out Tennessee, because we've watched Tennessee beat Tennessee in the SEC for like 5 years now under Rick Barnes in this style, where they're just like really physical, rebound, really play good defense, put teams in a vice grip. And Tennessee could not move the ball against Houston in the first half. Like just complete domination by the Houston defense. And so to do that to someone who prides themselves on it with high-level athletes, Kelvin Sampson's an incredible coach who's run an unbelievable program there at Houston, and they've got an opportunity to do something pretty special there in the Final Four. So we'll see. Would have been crazy to have Texas Tech in San Antonio for a Final Four, but Houston in the Final Four, they ought to have a pretty impressive crowd there in San Antonio as well. So that's just a look at the NCAA tournament. We'll crank that discussion back up on Friday as we get ready for Saturday's Final Four. We'll step aside one more time, come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
The VEX European Bracket Challenge is rolling right along. The Final Four is set. Head over to LouisianaSports.net to see how you're stacking up for the shot at winning the $1,000 grand prize. Most accurate picks overall will take home all of that $1,000. Do you have your Final Four? Do you have anyone left in the Final Four? If you do, maybe you got a chance to win that $1,000. It's the VEX European Bracket Challenge powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, and you can listen the live coverage of the 2025 men's NCAA tournament. Continuing with the Final Four this Saturday. Florida and Auburn tip off at 5 p.m., immediately followed by Houston and Duke. Then coverage of Championship Monday starts at 6 p.m. Your home for the men's NCAA tournament. And the Final Four is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you don't have a single team in the Final Four, then you're a dope. Like,
well, that's true.
They're 4. You got to have one seed in the Final Four.
Yeah. It hasn't happened in like, what, 20 years?
No.
2008, maybe?
2008, yeah.
A little bit less.
Yeah, almost 17. That's depressing.
That you're old, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. How old were so 2008?
I was a sophomore in college.
Wow. I'm pretty old.
Yeah. It's true. Speaking of dopes, I had the entire Final Four correct. I had all the 1 seeds in the Final Four. I'm in a deal with friends. There are 30 entrants. I had the entire Final Four right, and I'm in 11th. You know how awful your picks have to be the first weekend to get the entire Final Four right and be in 11th?
That's true, but I do remember after you made your bracket and you were like, oh, I had all 1 seeds in my Final Four, so I guess I'm a dummy, but it turns out you're actually smart.
Turns out I'm a genius, as we all knew.
Yep.
Everybody keeps telling me that. Say, Hunt, you're so smart. Everything you say is right, but I just never listen to them. I guess I need to start doing that. You're always very encouraging, too, with all your thoughts. You generally really lift me up. I appreciate that.
I try.
Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
You mentioned the Cubs bullpen. I'm going to be ticked.
I'm not because guess what? I watched that game and I don't want to ever talk about it again because it was horrifying. First one though, we'll stick with the MLB. The Yankees torpedo bat. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. If the rules say it's okay, I don't know how you can have a problem with it. Like, I like cutting edge stuff. I like trying to do something different. And this is doing something different. So I think that's cool. If it really works, everyone will be doing it in 5 minutes. They'll go to Marucci down the street and they'll say, hey, y'all got to start torpedoing these things. And everybody will be swinging it. But, yeah, I mean, look, here's the deal. You know who they were using them against?
The Blue Jays?
The Brewers.
The Brewers,
and it was awesome, and they swept them, so I'm all for it.
Knew it was a B team.
Anybody that's crushing the Brewers has my full endorsement, and so the Yankees at this point have my full endorsement. Deal with it, Brewers. Nice 0-for start. You stink.
Take that, Luke Johnson.
That's right, Luke.
Next one, the Cubs are playing a minor league team tonight. Take it or leave it.
Well, I'm going to leave that. They are not playing a minor league team technically, but they are playing in a minor league ballpark. I just saw a picture of it. There are no seating in the outfield in fair territory. It's just like flagpoles, and it looks like they're playing at Zephyr Field. It's just, I mean...
The Shrine on Airline?
The Shrine on Airline, which is unequivocally the worst named sports facility in the world. It's just not a name. That's a nickname. It's not a name. But yeah, it's just bad. This is I really am excited to watch the Cubs the next 3 days because after this, they're just playing this gauntlet of Dodgers, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Rangers. It's just disastrous. Every good team in the league, it seems like they play.
Let's go beat up on the
need
Athletics.
To beat the Athletics.
The Athletics.
Are they called the Oakland Athletics?
No,
they're just
strictly
the Athletics.
The A's or Athletics. They don't have. They're a team with no name or city.
I'll pull forward when Tommy White gets there, but right now, no. Go Cubs.
All right, last one here. Stanford, as we talked about last week, fired their coach. They've hired veteran NFL coach Frank Reich, no surprise there with the Andrew Luck ties, as the school's interim football coach for the 2025 season. It was announced today. You may be wondering why I said interim football coach. Well, those Stanford and Reich have agreed that this will only be a one-season deal, hiring a coach for 1 year. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it alone.
I feel like you could hire a football coach at Stanford in March.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you could. I don't understand why. I realize that a lot of people are in spring ball, but like that didn't stop Bo Davis from moving. Like, I realize that's going to the professional ranks, but I don't see if there's just nobody you want to hire. Like, you're going to stall out the program for a year. He clearly not going to recruit.
No.
Who's going to recruit?
No one's going to want to go there if they know the coach is leaving in a year.
So I don't really get it. I realize Stanford really doesn't care that much about football. Heard Jake and T-Bob talking earlier this morning about they have had a lot of Heisman finalists in the last 15, 18 years with Luck and Toby Gerhart and Christian McCaffrey, and all that is well and good. but nobody goes to the games, so it's not that big a deal. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's necessarily the best thing in the world, but it doesn't really matter because no one cares about Stanford football.
That's true.
That's just the reality of it. Stanford, great at women's golf, really good men's golf.
Pretty good at baseball. They were anyways.
They got the all-time high school leader in Japanese home runs on their team this year.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He hit a couple homers against North Carolina in a conference series.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I'm interested to see if this
Rintaro Sasaki, I believe.
Interested to see if this could become a trend where some of the guys from Japan don't just go to the league over there in Japan and actually head over to the States to play.
Yeah.
You've never really seen that happen before.
Rachel Heck is on Stanford's women's golf team. She makes me feel a lot worse about myself.
Yeah.
She shoots like in the low 60s a lot. One of the top amateur women in the world. She's in the armed forces in some way and like flies fighter planes.
If you needed anything else to make you feel less of yourself, that certainly would be one of them to really exacerbate the.
She doesn't have any bylines on LouisianaSports.net though. I'll tell you that.
She does not.
Let me know when she gets a radio show with her name on it. Take that, Rachel Heck. Yeah, you can shoot 62. Yeah, you can fly in the military, but you can't talk about SEC baseball like this.
No chance.
Just trying to talk myself up back. All right, that's it for Monday. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. If you missed anything, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. That's it for us. Matt's out today, so Musso is going to drive you home from 3 to 6. We're back tomorrow, same time and same place with a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit your